Hello, everybody, and welcome to the hype server for 1.97. Is it 1.97? Viking Fury. Um, yes. Also, day 1095 of opening shit. Hooray! I finally get the amazing decal. Oh my god, I'm so happy I can actually put this disgusting decal on my planes. Hooray! Loading, 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 loading. Look at this! No longer do I have to be a pleb with the 3-star veteran. I can now get the 3-year veteran. Oh, look at this beauty. Isn't it gorgeous? I can look like a complete and utter person with no life now. Hooray. I'm so happy. Anyway, dev server. So, yes, it's the dev server for 1.97. Let's get to the first thing that everybody will want to see. The J-35. The Draken, the plane that everybody's going to be just creeing among themselves over, as they should be. It's an absolute gorgeous plane. This thing is an absolute beast. It's a weapon. It is a fantastic plane. In reality, this thing is an amazing plane. It's just a marvel of technology. It's just gorgeous. This thing is absolutely fantastic. One of the things I think people are going to struggle with is the actual guns, the 30mm, because they are so far outboard. They basically sit right on the edge of the air intakes, basically, rather than the sort of center point of the plane, which is the main cockpit, the main fuselage. Sorry, because this plane is weird because it has its sort of, it's almost a plane in two sections. It's like an IKEA pack. You know, you've got your air intakes on the side built into the wings, and then you have your fuselage down the middle. It's a very interesting looking plane. This thing turns like an absolute beast. Modification wise, you've got some great missiles on board. Infrared tracking guidance missiles. Not a huge overload though, only 10G. So that's the RB-24s, which, you know, they're not going to be that good in all honesty, but range is 4 kilometers, so they're not too bad. You might be able to get some good shots off with this thing. Maximum speed is actually slow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Draken was a Mark II aircraft off the top of my head. It was fast, and it's not that fast. I'm wondering if this is because it's one of the earlier versions of the Draken. Maybe wasn't as fast as we would expect. One thing I did want to actually look at though is the J29s. Do they have G suits yet? No, they do not. Still lacking their G suits. Why is that, Gaijin? Why is that? Anyway, as we can see, planes. We're going to look at planes first. Le Francais. Let's see if there's anything interesting for them that they get. Nope. No Mirage. As of yet, of course. This can change because sometimes they do add things after the hype server. But no Mirage. Nothing interesting for Le Francais. Italy. Nope. Duck Egg. Again, nothing interesting for Italy. You know, fun stuff. And still no naval for Italy as well, which is fun. China, everybody's favourite, copy and paste tech tree. They do get a new copy and paste plane, the F-100. Yay. Japan, they do get a supersonic jet, a second Phantom, which is the F4E. The F4E, obviously, in the American tech tree as well. We're not getting the Kai yet, which is going to come, which is a sort of Japanese upgraded version. The main thing for the F4E is the fact that America, after taking the plane to combat zone and finding out that, you know, guns were still needed because, believe it or not, air-to-air missiles in the 1960s and 70s were not that reliable, so they stuck a Vulcan in its snoz. So you've got the Vulcan actually inbuilt. This is going to make the plane a lot more easier to use, a lot more deadly for head-ons, and people will actually be able to use the weapons. Modification-wise, there are some interesting things. You've got the new air-to-air missiles coming in, as well as flares. Flares are now here. With the E, it has an integrated radar warning as well, things like that, but you get flares at last for planes. With the AIM 9J, of course, it is a better variant with 20G of turn and a weapon lock range of 5.5 kilometers. So yeah, this is going to be a absolute beast of a thing. 10.3, of course, because you know it's comparable to the T2, which was the first supersonic jet that came out, of course. Britain! Yes, Britain. Nothing interesting in Britain's tech tree, unfortunately. No real cool, interesting planes. Nothing worth talking about, really. Oh, wait, what's that? There's a Lightning? Oh, baby. Yes, the Lightning is here. The F6 Lightning. One of the best planes in the supersonic age, one of the best interceptors ever built. Do not talk to me about the Starfighter. The Starfighter was used and sold via bribery and, underhanded measures. If the Germans ended up buying the Lightning, then there would be a lot less German pilots dead. I do not like the Starfighter, as you can probably tell, because it was a terrible plane. Lightning, of course, very bloody fast. This thing has a ridiculous climb rate. You're going to be able to do a climb at Mach 1.2 without any issue. You'll be able to get to the ceiling of the game world within about 5 minutes, at least less than 5 minutes easily. Modification-wise, really nothing that interesting. You get the red top at last, which is a fantastic air-to-air missile, 6-kilometer range, 16G, sorry, and also it's a fire and forget weapon because it is infrared. So the fire streak as well with the infrared radar locks. But the thing about the red top is you can fire that not actually looking at it. So the radar system of the Lightning will be able to pick up planes sort of quite far to the left and right of it. So you can fire it and then just go on your way because that missile is going to hit people. The Lightning's not going to turn well. It's not designed for turning. This thing is designed to go fast up, take out what it needs to, and then come back to the ground, rearm, and then go back up there. It was designed to intercept bombers coming over with nukes, take them out, stop them from hitting, and that was it. It does have a refueling nozzle, of course. It did have the capability of air-to-air refueling and could stay up in the air for a little bit of time, but this thing was designed mainly to go bloody fast. We are missing the armoured front plate, though. The pilot should have an armoured front plate for his cockpit there. It was armoured glass, and you can actually see that the glass should be kind of armoured. It does look thick enough for it, but it is not. So yeah, that should hopefully come in soon. Things are still subject to change on the hype server. Russia, of course. Russia does not get anything interesting in the planes. We will get to helicopters in a moment. Germany, we've got a new bomber. Yay! We've got the Ju-188A2. Now, Ju-188 is kind of a smaller version of the premium Ju-288. So, yeah, it's basically the smaller brother of the Ju-288. But this thing is just ridiculously cool. If we look at the engines, you can see there is the Jumo 213 engine in there, not the DB. So yes, a slightly different engine in there, slightly more powerful, decent engines and decent speeds this thing's going to have. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world, and it has like all the crew in the world. As is the thing with German bombers of the time, that they had of course, the sort of rather bulbous nose. If you kind of look at it, it does kind of look like a penis, of course. Not saying that it is a penis, but that's kind of how it looks. This thing has no armor, really, on the front, so head-on, you're going to kill it instantly. Behind, it's got some decent armor for the pilot and some of the gunners. It's filled with crew. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 crew members in a cockpit the size of a mini. So obviously a tight fit, but this thing is brimming with guns. So if we look, we've got a 20mm cannon in the ball turret, we've got a 13mm machine gun in the backwards section, a 13mm machine gun, 7.62mm machine gun underneath. We have a 20mm in the nostril. So yeah, lots of guns in this thing and decent defensive armament, but not the best for armor and things like that. It's going to get eaten up. 5.3 as well. This thing's going to get mullered. Bomb wise, though, this thing does have a ridiculous payload. One 18,000 kilogram bomb and a 1,000 kilogram bomb. Yes, this thing has a ridiculously high payload. So in ground forces, this thing is just going to be an easy suicide machine where you just fly into people and drop that gargantuan bomb with 1,000 kilograms of TNT in it that's going to basically nuke most of the things in a small perimeter. But honestly, it's not going to be that great, sadly. It's going to be decent for Air RB, I think. It's a nice addition, but it's not... unfortunately, bombers do suffer. I think this thing will be okay. I will give it a good fly when it comes out because I do love bombers, and of course I will give it a play. Anyway, on to America. As usual, nothing interesting in the World War II era section. Nothing in props because, you know, we don't want props anymore. That's boring, that's old. But we do have two new planes. Of course, we have the Phantom F4E, aforementioned Phantom. Same thing, AIM-9J, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. We know what that looks like now. We also get the A4B Sky Radar, Sky blah blah blah. Used by the Australian Royal Navy as well, off the top of my head. This thing is just a beautiful plane. Subsonic, doesn't go supersonic, but it is just gorgeous. The big fuel nozzle on the front does kind of remind me of the Shape Charge stick. Which was basically a weapon designed that you would run up to a tank with a giant pole arm with a shape charge on the front and jab it at the tank and make it explode, which is one of the stupidest weapon designs in history, but also one of the funniest. It's up there with the Russian anti-tank dog mine system and the British pigeon-guided bomb, of course, in just ridiculous ridiculous weapons. This thing is made of fuel tanks, by the way. You've got fuel tanks in the wing, you've got fuel tanks behind the pilot, and you've got a nice big engine in the back. A cool little looking plane. It does look really fun to play. Modifications, this thing has got some okay armament. You've got the AIM-9E on this one. Sorry, AIM-9B, sorry, not E. I've got too many variations. You've got bullpups, you've got so many options for loadout. This thing just carries anything. It's basically another decent CAS vehicle. Should be a relatively good fighter. You've got 20mm cannons on the front, twins. Only a small amount of rounds though, 100 rounds per gun. So it's not going to be the best in a long period dogfight. But God, this thing is gorgeous. I do think it's one of the better looking planes out there for some reason. Oh yeah, because I don't have enough to... I don't have 5 out of the 10 planes to unlock it, despite having the F4JB unlocked because Gaijin. So anyway, yeah, cool stuff. Anyway, let's go to Helimachopters. Nothing for America. We're going to look through the tech trees as we go. So we've looked through aviation, army. Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't think there's anything new or interesting in ground forces for America. Just having a quick check over it. If I miss something, I do apologise. I usually do that, so that's a common thing for me. But we do have some new boats to play with. USS Portland. Funny thing, I saw this on the stream the other night, and people going, "Oh my God, it's the Portland, a modern day cruiser." Sorry, modern day destroyer. No, this is the Portland. That's an armored cruiser. So USS Portland, typical American armored cruiser of the time, similar to that of the Brooklyn, the Pepsi Cola. Sorry, you know, similar sort of look to them. They all had that similar look. They all have those big 8-inch guns in the front, of course. Very, very similar ships. They really didn't go out their way of designing different looking ships. Yeah, it should be decent armor wise. It's got some heavy armor on it. It's got some relatively decent armor. It's not the heaviest armor in the world, but it's decent. If you've played World of Warships, you know what American heavy cruisers are like. They're kind of made of citadels, but you don't get citadels in War Thunder, of course. But they're not the the toughest of things in the universe, but they're relatively good. They got decent guns to them, of course. As I said, those 8-inch guns are very, very strong, relatively good armor, decent sized cruiser, yada yada yada. Okie dokie, so that's America looked at. There was no new helicopters for America. No, there wasn't, of course, because why would we give America a new helicopter when we can give other nations new helicopters? Okay, for das Germany. The Germans, anything new in ground forces? Yes, we've got one new top tier, the the Radama, the Radica Panzer 90. Basically, it's a cockerel turret on top of an armored car. We're going to see the cockerel turret a few times today. It's as we go on into the modern times, the cockerel turret becomes more and more of a thing with that 105mm gun in it. Armored car, fast, no real armor to it, glass cannon, yada yada yada, decent gun, 305mm of penetration, probably, oh no, 408, sorry, with the DM33s. Yeah, it'll be a decent armoured car. Yay, Germany having more armoured cars. Of course, it is in the same line as all the tank destroyers, which I don't get this whole, German light vehicle lineup being in the sort of tank destroyer rocket vehicle line, as well as having the actual tank destroyer. It just, yeah, weird stuff. So yeah, very strong little tank, good little armored car. Yeah, it's going to be handy. It's going to be pretty strong. Just having a quick look up just in case there's anything I miss. No, nothing else interesting. Helimachopters, nothing. And naval, nothing. Okie dokie, on to Russia. Yes, Russia has got a new cruiser, the Svedlov. 1952 cruiser, modern cruiser, going to be pretty damn strong. It's a post World War II sort of heavy cruiser. 152mm guns. Of course, it's a light cruiser, I think, classified by Russians, but the armor classification makes it pretty much a heavy cruiser. Gonna have pretty decent accurate guns, decent anti-aircraft, big old Russian cruiser, Soviet cruiser. Yeah, we know what to expect from it. It's going to be pretty bloody strong. We've also got a new premium, the Yevtushimy PR-41, one of those weird little Russian frigates that was made during the sort of Cold War era. Again, we've got 130mm turrets on board and a shit ton of anti-aircraft weapons. So going to be a strong AA boat. Armor, yeah, not really much armor, although some fairly decent armor around the actual the superstructure. Of course, radar cruiser. It's going to be strong. It's going to be good. It's it's a Russian frigate. Did I say radar cruiser? It's a radar frigate. Sorry. Got the weird little rocket launchers on there, torpedoes, Russian torpedoes, what do you expect? But yeah, a lot of anti-aircraft there. This thing's going to just rip apart aircraft pretty quickly, and yeah, it's going to be a strong little boat. Premium, of course, so anyone could buy it. It's basically going to be similar to the PR-159, sort of that kind of style of boat, of course, with the 130mm slightly stronger guns, but yeah, going to be pretty strong. As we go to the army, anything in World War II era? Nope, of course, because we don't want to add stuff from there, because that's not what people enjoy. But we have a new T-72, and this of course has to be bought out because the T-90 is going to come out in the next patch. So the C-72B, the upgraded version of it with the fantastic reactive armor on there. This thing's pretty damn strong. It's a Russian tank. It's still in service, I'm pretty sure, in some countries. I think it's still in service in Russia off the top of my head. 125mm smoothbore cannon, can fire pretty much anything. You know, it's a Russian tank. We know what it is. Fast stick going forwards, slow going backwards. Yeah, Soviet era tank. So, yay. So yeah, another T-72. Yeah, we know what to expect from that. What everybody's looking forward to, helicopters. So, two new Russian helicopters, the Ka-29 Sub Hunter, naval helicopter, cool little thing, counter-rotating blades, of course. Russians very much favour that style of system, so you don't need a rear rotor. Counter-rotating blades, of course, means that you do not need a rear rotor to actually keep the helicopter stable and from spinning around out of control. Cool little helicopter, though. It is a neat little vehicle. If we look at the actual weapons it gets, yep, 5 km firing range, yep, it's going to be strong. It's got a 30mm cannon as well as a couple of 7.62mm auto cannons on there, and Gatling guns basically. If you actually look here, you can see the little Gatling gun, which the co-pilot can use, sitting between his legs. He's got a basically he's got a gun for a penis. And then there's a 30mm cannon that can go on the side of this thing. Yeah, it's a small, strong little sub hunter, sub chaser. It's got lots of electronic warfare devices. It's a decent little naval helicopter. If you've played Cold Waters, it's probably the bane of your existence. Okay, the Ka-52, of course, the production version. Yeah, the new best helicopter in the game. Armour for days, counter-rotating blades, of course, fast, good, sleek, yada yada yada. Lots of electronic warfare devices, and if we look at the loadout, sorry, you can see that it carries everything in the universe. 10-km firing range missiles. Yep. So, yeah, basically the new vehicle that's going to ruin ground forces for top tier. So that's always good to have. We like to destroy ground forces because we don't like that game mode. For the British, anything in the vehicle ground forces? Nope, other than the Rukat. Okie dokie, Rukat 105. It's a Rukat with a 105mm gun. Premium. South African ground forces. It's a good vehicle, decent little armoured car. The 105 GT70, obviously, yada yada yada, DM23, yada yada yada, we all know what it does. Yeah, it's a good little premium armoured car, I guess. Obviously it's an armoured car, so nothing special. 8.7, so it goes perfectly with the Shock Cal Dow. So a good little lineup there for you, I guess. Yeah. What more can I say, really? It's an upgunned version of the Rukat Mark 1D, which should really be the premium version, because premium should be the lesser caliber and, you know, the usual thing of pay to win, but that's what we expect from War Thunder these days. British helicopters, nothing. British, where are we going? British Navy. We have got the HMS Kent, a county class cruiser. Ah, God, I'm going to have to play naval again because I love county class cruisers so much. If you don't know, HMS Berwick, my granddad served on that one in the Arctic convoys. I'm a big fan of the county class, a decent heavy cruiser. County class cruisers are decent cruisers. They're not the best cruisers out there. They've got 203mm guns. They're pretty beefy, pretty strong. World of Warships just released theirs, so obviously War Thunder's had to release theirs. Big old cruiser, decent vehicle. The county class was just a good, robust cruiser. It was just a decent cruiser, very strong, very durable, very just fairly good all-around heavy cruiser, really. Of course, the worst thing about it was the open bridge. My granddad used to serve in this position here, which, as you can tell, is an open bridge and not very comfortable for seamen when they're going through the Antarctic area, through the Arctic areas. It's very cold. One good thing about it, though, is there was a nice warm water system that would give you lots of hot cocoa while you were up there on the bridge. So you would sort of have some form of not freezing to death. Lots of anti-air. You've got the Vickers, Vickers 50 cals on board. The Vickers 50 cal, of course, not being as long as the American Browning 50 cal, but still a 50 caliber machine gun. 40mm pom poms. Yeah, it's got decent AA, it's got decent guns, it's a decent cruiser. Armor is not that great, in all honesty. The armor is not great for an armored cruiser, but the county classes are just robust, decent cruisers. They got decent guns. One last thing about it: when the Bismarck sunk, I think it was Suffolk went there to try and pick up survivors. One of the problems with the county class, as you can see, is it's just a bitch to climb up. It's got a slightly sort of curved armor system to it, so trying to get up the side of one of these things is nigh impossible. Yeah, not a very easy thing to climb, and that's why so few survivors were actually picked up by the ship picking up survivors, because they threw down the nets and everything, and doctrine at the time was people had to sort of, you didn't help survivors out the water because you would generally lose more seamen doing that, so they would have to climb up themselves. Obviously the men were exhausted, it was very hard. They got as many as they could. One seaman did jump off and try to save and help crewmen, and he ended up getting lost in action, I think. But yeah, it was just a terrible cruiser to try and actually get up the side of because it was so tall. Unfortunately, a submarine was spotted, which was the submarine picking up the Bismarck's logs. So it wasn't actually there to attack it, but the counterclass cruiser was like, nope, we're not sticking around with a submarine around, because obviously there was no submarine defense systems on this ship. It was a heavy cruiser, it wasn't designed to go sub hunting, so they buggered off and had to leave many survivors in the water. Unfortunately, they did throw things down to help survive people, but yeah, a bit of a shame, bit of a sad story to the end of the Bismarck and stuff like that, but that is war. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Britain. Nothing interesting there. Japan. We have got a new premium. We have got the Mikuma, a Japanese cruiser, and in that fantastic Japanese cruiser system, you've got the super firing turret with a turret in the middle, similar to many American sort of light cruisers of the time. They had all the guns at the front, 2 guns at the back. So all in all, you've got what is it? 15 guns. Is that the right one? Am I doing my math right? Yeah, 15 guns. 3 times 5, of course. But yeah, this thing is just brimming with guns. Torpedoes, good torpedoes, of course. I think it's the Long Lance in there. So yeah, 20-kilometer oxygen-fed torpedoes, of course. Very, very flammable. Not the best thing in the world. Can't remember the story of Mikuma, but typical Japanese cruiser. Armor, you can see it's got armor but nothing special. It's got a lot of aircraft on board though, which of course are absolutely useless because you can't use the aircraft on Naval in War Thunder. But another nice Japanese cruiser to have in the game. Cool to see. Not going to get used much because Naval is dead, and it's not very fun. We've also got the Izakachi, rank 2, doopy doopy doo. As you can see, sub chaser slash frigate corvette. I think this is a post-war, is it? I can't remember the actual date of it. Does it have a date on there? Please have a date on there. No, frigate. Okay, so yeah, Can't remember anything. Doing things off the top of my head is terrible. Um, you have got a couple of 3-inch guns and then 40mm Bofors. Yeah, this would be a post-war. This would be a post-war ship, wouldn't it? Because it's got Bofors on board. Yeah, it's it's another little frigate. I think it's pretty sure it's got some form of, it's got radar and stuff. So yeah, it's another small frigate. Yay, I guess. Whoop-de-doo. Helicopters, nothing. Military. Da, 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 and that is nothing for Japan. Nothing for Japan, of course. So yeah, we got a couple of new ships. China. Everybody's favourite. Okay, looking through the older stuff. Nothing, 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 nothing. And we have the ZIT-96A, evolution of the MBT for China. And sorry about all the birds outside. They are incredibly loud, I know. They are attacking my fig tree. Yep. Evolution of the Chinese MBT. 10.0, slightly better, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, as you can tell, completely underwhelmed there. Italy has nothing in the ground forces. And nothing in the helicopters. And nothing in the planes. So Italy gets nothing this patch. Le Francais. Helicopters. Nothing. Ground forces. We have got some new vehicles. Hooray. We actually got some new World War II vehicles. Hooray. So we have a Crusader. Of course, used by the Free French. It's the Crusader Mark II, of course, with the fantastic secondary machine gun turret there. Yep. It's a Crusader Mark II. I mean, you know, Control Z and Control V. You know, good job. We got a Stuart. Yep, Stuart. The M3A3 Stuart. Actually, wait, is that the... have the M3A3? No, that's actually a new Stuart, isn't it? I was just thinking there, that is a new Stuart. Yeah, so the M3A3, so yeah, the evolution of the Stuart. So yeah, that actually is a new model, and it does have the Mark 1, doesn't it? Or Mark 2, or whatever it was. Yeah, of course, yeah. Okay, I just want to check that. So yeah, actually a new model, because that is a new vehicle. Okay, so cool, the M3A3 Stuart. So just a slightly upgraded version of the Stuart, slightly sleeker, slightly cleaner. No major big differences to it, but it is just a slightly upgraded version of it. That's kind of cool. Okay, I'm glad we've actually got a new vehicle in there. The M3, I think that was the first Stuart to not have the... because the other Stuarts used the rotary engine, didn't they? Sorry, I'm actually just questioning myself now of my brain being like, wait, no, that's a different engine. No, wait, the M5 did, of course. The M5 did have that, and then the M3... that did have a... was that rotary? Yeah. Okay, cool, yeah. Okay, I'm not going mad there. So yeah, so similar to the M5, it's got the standard what was it, twin V8 engine in it, or V6 or V12. Can't remember the exact details. People will correct me in the comments, as usual. Yeah. New Stuart, cool. That's actually nice to see a new model in the game and not just a copy and paste. And also we have the M4A3 105, which is the assault Sherman with the 105 howitzer in it. Yep. So yeah, So some new Shermans and some new sort of allied vehicles for France, which is kind of nice to see. Getting a few new lower tier tanks. Not that he really needed it, in all honesty, but cool to see. Nothing else of importance. There is actually the AMX 32 coming out, but that's not here in the dev server. So that will probably get put in when the game goes live. It's not actually in the... It's not here, is it? I can't see it. No, there it is. Okay, there it is. Okay, it is here. Okay, so the AMX-32, of course, it was the failed upgrade version of the AMX-30. Cool to have. Smoothbore 120mm G-out gun in it. Be decent. Pretty sure this was stabilized as well off the top of my head because it was the upgraded version of the AMX 30. I'm actually just going to test it out because I'm pretty sure it had stabilization in it because it was an upgraded turret. I have to actually, as I said, I'm terribly sorry, I have to think off the top of my head on these things, and that's hard for me to do sometimes because generally my videos require me to at least have a read of things. Yep, that looks stabilized to me. So, yep, stabilized. Heat FS in it. Not the fastest reload in the world. Big turret. Yeah, it will be okay. It's a nice welcome addition to top tier France, obviously. Decent. It's nice to have. Yeah, okay. And a new French tank. So, yeah, okay. Helicopters, nothing. I think I've done that already. Okie dokie, now for the big one. Sweden. I did consider just doing this in another video, but bollocks to that. Actually, I will. So, if you want to see this, come for part 2 of the Swedish tech tree. I'm just going to jump out and actually stop recording, so I have to do this because my screen capture wasn't working, so look at my beautiful background. So, come back for this. I'll do a Swedish tech tree with this video. I'll upload them pretty much at the same time, so I'll see you for that one.